I'm having a psychotic breakdown. Just been through all my, bloody, not all of them, but the one record I wanted to find, I know I've got it here. See, I'm getting old. I used to have things sort of organised by record labels, because it's just too hard to try and put each, A to B to Z. God. I mean, what do you do if you're half pissed all the time like me, and you pull them out and play them, put them on the floor, and put them back? So you're not going to go back and go A, for Adam and the ants goes there. Fuck that shit. Yeah, I'm having one of my psychotic episodes. It's 5:40 in the morning. I've had a bad sleep, so I'm a bit, totally insane at the moment. I just had this. I just thought this really funny joke. Well, it's not funny. It's creepy, but I think it's funny. The one record I was trying to find was "Spicks and Specks" by the Bee Gees. Guess I got something to say about that, the Bee Gees today. And the one thing I've been through, I know it's in the other room. I just thought of it. I've got about 10 boxes of 45s in another room. And every time I go in there and I go through it, I go, oh, I should pull that one out and put it in. And I haven't. That's where it is. Not that it matters, but, it really fucking pisses me off. I'm just like any other damn record collector. I'm completely and utterly neurotic. Except I'm not neurotic. I don't, put them neatly in from A to Z in special boxes from IKEA where, and it's fucking hell, man. Christ, thank God I'm not that insane. Yeah, so what am I talking about? Bee Gees. Yeah, what? Voices in my head are talking to me. They're only words, of course. This is an EP, Australian EP on the Spin label, which was the Bee Gees label just before they left Australia and made it. And it's Spin. And on the back there, you'll see 1, 2, 3. There are 4 other Bee Gees EPs listed on the back of this. Look. Spicks and Specks, To Love Somebody, Massachusetts. Coal Man, which you may as well say is a Bee Gees EP because it's got Coal Man on it. Basically, it's Ronnie Burns covering a shitload of Bee Gees tracks. Coal Man's one of the best tracks they ever made, except fuck. Yeah. Well, that's right. I thought of a funny joke, but it's not really funny. I've already said that, I'm like one of those TV shows where they padded it out, like there's an idea, and an idea only lasts for a nanosecond, and then they got to make a 3-hour movie out of it, so they put a lot of padding around a nanosecond. Okay, I've lost you all now. Words. Oh yeah, that's right. I thought of a funny joke. This is probably politically incorrect these days, but who cares? What would you call an Italian American that goes into a record bar in 1967 and asks for the latest Bee Gees single, Spicks and Specks? What would you call that gentleman, that Italian American gentleman wearing glasses that walked into the record bar to buy Spicks and Specks? You'd call him a spick with specs. Okay, now I'll get banned from YouTube now. I'll join Music Man in Never Neverland, floating away somewhere up there. Just it's up there. It's still probably up there. She's probably talking, but there's no one watching but it's sort of weird thought. Speaking of specs, words. It's only words. This is what got me going. I made a video yesterday. I don't know. I was probably drunk. I haven't even looked at it, but who cares? But we're talking about the BGs, who I met, and I'm eternally chuffed by that. But then I thought, look, I'll look up and see what's happening to poor old Barry Gibb these days. And yeah, he's older than me. I'm 71, so he'd be at least in his mid-70s, possibly even older. Nah, probably mid-70s. But yeah, and there was a really great little interview from '82 where he looked sort of really handsome, before they got really ugly. See, Vince Maloney on the end there. That's the most expensive, most money ever paid for a single is from the guy on the end, Vince Maloney, ex-Billy Thorpe in the Aztecs, and then he was in the Bee Gees for about 5 years at least, during their classic golden era, really. But I got his single, No Good Without You, on the Commotion label, which is incredibly rare. And it's got my favourite guitar solo of all time. It's not even a solo, it's just three or four notes. It just sounds like he's strangling a chicken. In the middle of... No, that's on a BG song. And I think it's World. Not Words, World. That's the guy that does that little strangled 5-6 note guitar solo in the middle of World. It's great. It's awesome. This guy is brilliant. Anyway, that's Vince Maloney. This guy was in a movie called Smiley, huge hit back in the 50s. About a little kid running around the bush. Brilliant stuff. And of course, the other three are the brothers. There and there. But anyway, I'm off track again. Gonna need another coffee. Words. It's only words, yeah. And I looked it up, and he was talking about they were talking about some of his early hits, when they started to make it internationally, and the interviewer American interviewer asked him about Massachusetts, which is a beautiful song, let's face it, it's sort of right up there with their best. There's an EP here, Massachusetts. The lights went out in Massachusetts. And they said, what does it mean or something? Well, Barry admitted years ago that they'd never been to Massachusetts when they wrote that, and he's singing this song about longing to go home to Massachusetts, and it's totally believable. You just go, yeah, I wish I could go home to Massachusetts, even though I haven't been there either. And they said, what does it mean? And he said, well, I admit we've never been to Massachusetts, but what it was about the flower power hippie thing. See, like that was a hit in probably 68, maybe even a bit earlier, 67. Yeah, 67, I would imagine, late. And what it's really about is about like what happened with my American pen pal, John Shields from Long Island. If you're still alive, and you'll never see this, but if you are, I'm glad you are. He was my pen pal, and years later, I thought, I wonder what happened to John. This is in the old days before internets and YouTubes and shit. Everyone wrote with pens on paper, stuck a stamp on it, and waited months for a response. And I sent him some letters, and eventually none came back, so I gave up. But years later, I tried a punt. I wrote another letter to his parents' address where he had been living at the time, and they sent a response back, and they said, look, we're sorry, but John took off, and we haven't seen him. In other words, he ran away and became a stinking filthy hippie in San Francisco. So wow, he was like this super straight guy, the impact that those filthy hippies had on a whole generation. We were lucky down here. Australia's far too violent a place to fall for that bullshit. You know, the 1960s in Australia was beer guzzling, smashing cars in the trees or head on into each other, all being killed in car crashes, driving drunk on acid, um, you know, fucking anything you can stand still long enough to get fucked. And that's Australia in the 60s, you know. The only peace and love you got was when you got home and your mum would make you a nice breakfast, and the peace was you'd sleep off your hangover in bed. And, oh, God, what am I doing? Who the hell's going to watch this? Me, I guess, just to make sure I didn't say too many bad things. So it's only words. And so basically what Massachusetts is about, and I finally know what it's about now, it's not about, it's really about, you know, the hippie thing. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I've heard a song that sounds a lot like Massachusetts. If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear a flower in your hair. And if you, I won't even attempt to try and do a Massachusetts, mate, but if you sing that in your head, if you know that song, and then if you can sing Massachusetts in your head, it's basically the same tune. You know, I mean, everyone knows songwriters rip off stuff with, and there's nothing wrong with that because you know it's all part of the thing. But it's like, oh, I thought, oh my God, it really is. It's pretty close to San Francisco, Wear Flowers in Your Hair by Scott McKenzie, but it's not about the come here, children, and, you know, catch gonorrhea and fry your brain on acid. It's about don't go there, kids. Stay in Massachusetts. Get a shit factory job, which will keep you and your 3 kids in a reasonable lower middle income until the factory gave us bust 20 years later and you all end up on opioids. It's only words. Bye.